It is great to see you. Thank you again for sitting in the host chair while I was away. I've gotten so many emails and so many comments praising you.
Oh, well,
Honestly,
that is nice. Your audience is terrific. And by the way, last night I was at the market buying peanut butter and bananas, unrelated to one another. I was not making an Elvis sandwich. Just needed some peanut butter, needed some bananas.
all right.
A man walks up to me and says, "You Michael Shore?" And invariably, it's someone who knows me from, the Young Turks, and it happens with some more frequency than I would have expected. And last night he said, the man's name was Tony, because I asked him after what his name was, and he said, I saw you hosting the Mark Thompson show last week. I love what you do on Fridays. I love the show. Fantastic. I mean,
Wow, that's pretty terrific.
Yeah.
That is pretty terrific. Yeah. Well, I do love what you do, but I'm always encouraged that maybe the word is getting out. Apparently, it is.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was so excited about. It's like, this is great. This is great.
Yeah. Mindy says, we enjoyed you, Michael. Thanks for stepping in for Mark. Great job.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
Really are.
And hi to Tony if he's watching today, because he's.
Oh, yeah, Tony. That's right. Yeah. There you go. I like banana sandwiches, says Tammy. All right, maybe try that. When will Michael be back in the driver's seat?
Now we're talking.
Now I'm uncomfortable with that, but hopefully in January. I threw some January dates at him, so maybe he can step up. We'll see. There's Tony. Look at Tony. Well, it was great meeting you last night at Ralph's, Michael.
There he is. Yeah. That was very nice. Well,
very cool, Tony. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, that is a very cool story. Well, you certainly have your work cut out for you with this political configuration. We still have a dominant political party, the Democrats. That is to say, they have the executive office, they have the Senate still. They are, however, being handled in a pretty brusque fashion by the incoming dominant political party, the GOP. Right. I say that because it seems as though all the attention is on what Elon Musk and Donald Trump want in any legislation that comes through Congress, and even to the point, and Musk has made this point explicitly, he wants no legislation passed until Trump actually takes power. Can you speak to sort of the state of the state and what the likelihood is, in your judgment, of the government shutting down, and for how long?
I don't think they're going to shut down. I think they're going to do something to avert it, where they keep parts of it going, and they include a farm aid type of thing. But they're going to have to make spending cuts, and the Republicans know they need Democrats on board, and it's going to be tough to get them. Apparently, Hakeem Jeffries, who's the minority leader in the House, spoke with Speaker Mike Johnson today. Johnson has to go back to Trump. I mean, so there are lots of, Trump doesn't care if the government shuts down right now.
Right.
He wants the government to shut. If it's going to shut down, and it looks like if it doesn't now, it's going to at some point, he might as well, if you're Donald Trump, have it shut down when President Biden's still in office. And so funding the government's important. And the Democrats know that, and the Republicans want to see it happen, but they just don't. They have to figure out what to do with the whole idea of the debt ceiling. But these are the types of things that Congress does: is they get a little bit done, then they kick the rest down the road. So we're at last year's down the road right now is where we are. And so new things are going to be kicked down the road. And my guess is that they're going to find a way to fund the government. But, the Democrats, to Jeffries' credit and for Jeffries' optimism, are really rallying behind Jeffries here. There seems to be unanimity within their caucus about how Jeffries is handling this. If on the other side, though, Mike Johnson's getting trouble from members of his caucus, some of whom are unflappable and will not move. But he's got to get some Democrats, and he's got to get all the other Republicans there in order to have this be averted. They don't really want this shut down, even because in the House they don't think of it as President Biden. They think of it as the caucus under Mike Johnson's leadership. And that translates a little differently to somebody who's a member of Congress on the Republican side right now.
Well, Johnson really has a lot at stake here, doesn't he? I mean, it's very possible he won't survive into the new year.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that happen before. I don't think he's as divisive as Kevin McCarthy is, and I think that he has a better relationship with the people that stand. I mean, I know he has a better relationship with the type of people that stand in the way than Kevin McCarthy did. That said, their majority is a lot slimmer now, and especially when they come in to vote on the new speaker, they're going to have some people who are going to be leaving the Congress to go into the Trump administration, not to mention Matt Gaetz' seat will be empty unless he, this is an interesting thing too. He could be sworn in when they swear in the new Congress, and he could be part of the vote against Speaker Johnson if he wants, especially since they have got this ethics report that's going to be released. He may really be ticked off at Congress. He was elected. He can take his seat, take the oath of office, and cause some havoc, and that wouldn't help the Republicans actually, because he wouldn't support Johnson. So there's going to be a little bit of soap opera. I don't think it's going to have the same effect that it did when McCarthy was speaker, but there's going to be something.
Well, on the question of havoc and pushback, this really high-profile bitch slapping that Chip Roy was giving the party, that has achieved a virality, and it sort of speaks to the fact that there isn't a coalition on the right to get anything done. As you say, they need Democratic buy-in. I mean, Chip Roy he's a deficit hawk. He's a Tea Partier, right, Mike? Michael, that's sort of his.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, and he's a Texan, and he's somebody in the Freedom Caucus. He's somebody he's a disruptor, but he's principled. Whatever you think of his principles, he holds pretty tightly to them. I don't know that this tumult is the best thing, but they know that they don't have a massive majority. So in a weird way, they don't feel like they have a lot to risk by the Chip Roy faction, and that includes people like Eli Crane from Arizona. They don't, because they're not able to push through a lot of their priorities because their majority is not that big. They feel like, well, we should keep doing this because at least we're making our point. And, maybe he's right, and we'll see how Johnson handles it. I don't think this is something that is going to be defining of Speaker Johnson. I think that whoever the speaker is would be in this same predicament, and they know that. So it's a question of whether they want to be a circus. The problem for them, or the good thing for them, is that even if they are a circus, unlike before, the Democrats held the Senate and the White House, they were able to do it, and it wouldn't matter as much. But now, they're going to have a trifecta, and if they mess with Trump's trifecta, it could really hurt the incoming president.
There was a question about Social Security check, which will not be affected. Here it is. Gordon says, I'll be mad as hell if they screw with my Social Security payments. They won't. Yeah. If your payments are already in process, that is to say, if you're already receiving checks, this will not affect them.
This won't affect them, yeah.
But if you're going to be getting Social Security payments, that is to say, if you're initiating the process, it will.
Right.
Unless you're already in, a government shutdown means you won't see that process through to begin getting payments.
Right. But the thing to be scared about is that the sort of the inching toward oligarchy in the Trump years with the power that Musk has, and the power of the wallet that he has too. I mean, people don't want to mess with Musk because he can raise a lot of money for their congressional and Senate races. And this is a scary thing. And we're seeing, as we talk about all the time, the ill effects of money gone wild in politics, and how the richest man in the world has the incoming president wrapped around his finger, and all of the Trump sycophants in Congress follow suit. And if they don't, Musk has said, we're going to primary you. And that's not a place that America gets to a lot. Yeah, the money is always going to be, people with money are always going to be more powerful, dictating policy and threatening super PACs that can decimate opponents and create havoc in elections. That's new territory.
And just on that point, I'll remind everybody that a character that you don't hear a lot about these days, J.D. Vance, essentially had his political life delivered to him in the way that Michael Shure has sort of just suggested. The oligarchs are now taking control of government. That is to say, Peter Thiel took J.D. Vance, put him in a couple of different companies in which he didn't really do well, to be perfectly honest. Then plucked him out and put him in a Senate seat and dumped $15 million into that race to win the race for him. And indeed, he did win the race. 2 years later, he's vice president of the United States. So this is, I mean, it's the power of the oligarchy played out in just the ways you're talking about, Michael.
Yeah, and it's a freaking horrible thing for our country to be going through, or any country to be going through, because when we go through it, we become those countries that we know about and read about and laugh at and sympathize with. And so this is bad stuff.
So the other thing I was mentioning last hour is that Musk is endorsing the right-wing party in Germany as well. He's really feeling it. You know, I guess when you get to be the world's richest man, you start to feel as though, hey, I can run America while also running some other countries.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. He gets the best table in every restaurant, and he's taken every opportunity to eat everywhere now.
So you to review then don't feel they'll shut the government down. Somebody's asking in the chat, again, how would that look? I mean, what would that be? How do they avoid a government shutdown?
Well, avoiding the government shutdown means that they'll have a vote on funding the government and by suspending the rules. It's very Congress speak, and basically they're saying that they'll put forward a spending package, right, that will extend the farm bill, that will create disaster aid, farm aid. There's something else I'm forgetting right now, and then you get that passed very quickly. And that's what Johnson wants, is for Democrats to join in on that vote. And that's what Johnson and Jeffries are communicating about. So that would fund the government, at least now, by suspending the rules. And they're able to suspend the rules, which is, of course, ridiculous in its own right. But it's something that Congress does all the time, is they have these hard and fast rules. And they often suspend little ones, like, without, I'd like to have my remarks advised and extended in the record, that so the rules would say that you have to do it line by line, so they're governed by rules, and sometimes they suspend them, and that's what they would do here in order to get some stuff pushed through.
On the Democratic side, can you speak to the positioning and the gamesmanship associated with what's happening with AOC, for example? She was angling for a position of leadership, and she was kind of aced out by the old guard, right?
Yeah, it's a committee by committee venture when you do that, and I can't speak to that race. There are a lot of old Democrats that will not have the same power. I mean, when I talk about old Democrats who have served for a long time, and Democrats who happen to just be old. We had last week on your show Congressman Steve Cohen, who was talking to us a little bit about that, and he predicted that of all the ones that are going to be losing, that Jerry Connolly, who's in his 70s, represents Virginia, even with a big Boston brogue accent, he would maintain control, or he would get the ranking member position on the Oversight Committee, which is what Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez wants. So that could just be that people really like Jerry Connolly. Everybody really likes Jerry Connolly, and more people know Jerry Connolly than know Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez within Congress, or have working relations, because he's been there for a long time. Unlike some of the others who have sort of aged out, Connolly doesn't have the feel of someone who has aged out. He just happens to be a little older than most, or than some. But he's pretty vital. He's not well, though, and some of the
he's got cancer, doesn't he?
David, but his seems. I mean, I don't know enough about his cancer, so to speak, but I know that the illness that, for example, David Scott in Georgia has is different, and his chairmanship is definitely going away because it is more debilitating. And I think that and like Jamie Raskin recovered from cancer, and he's going to have the gavel, it seems, at Judiciary. I think Jerry Connolly is somebody who's probably dealing with it, whatever cancer he has, in a better way. And he strikes me as someone who wouldn't seek the position if he weren't well enough to do the job. He's well liked. I'm sure Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez really likes Jerry Connolly, but that doesn't mean anything. I just think that he's somebody who I don't think that much needs to be read into that other than seniority. I mean, look, this is a body that has always deferred to seniority. And just the fact that there are chairmanships and ranking members, I should say ranking memberships, because the Democrats are in the minority, just because those are going away for people who were next in line, either by age or seniority, is a great thing, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen in every single committee in every single place. So I wouldn't read too much into it. I think that the caucus really that Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez has grown on the caucus. People like her a lot, and she does the work. So I think her time will come.
Yeah, she, as a messenger, is probably one of the more effective voices, right, in the Democratic Party.
Well, and she's learned how to message it effectively rather than like she picks her spots really, really well. I mean, she's done a very good job of straddling a fence that a lot of people on one side of the fence didn't want her to straddle at all. But she's become more effective because she's played the game better. And I look, just about she is in a conversation to lead a committee is pretty great for her. And when the Democrats in 2 years take back the House, and Connolly maybe doesn't run, or this is his swan song, I don't know. I'm not predicting any of that, but this is, I mean, she's made her intentions clear, and I think that's important.
I will share this story with you that I was going to do separately, but now I will include it with you, Michael Shure.
I'll take it. I'll listen.
The transition team of Donald Trump. And as you know, the Trump people were jihadists when it came to going after Hillary Clinton for a private server. And they wanted every manner of reprimand, legal and societal and political, to be dropped on Hillary Clinton because of that. Well, now, through the transition, they are sharing documents via email, and they are eschewing government devices, email addresses, and cybersecurity support. They are using their own private emails, Michael Shure. They have agency employees considering insisting on in-person meetings for the transitions and document exchanges that they otherwise would have conducted electronically. This is according to federal officials.
Yeah.
Their anxiety is particularly high in light of the recent hacking attempts from China and Iran that targeted Trump and J.D. Vance and other top officials. So Trump, who again attacked Hillary Clinton over her use of a private email server for official business during his first presidential run, is overseeing a fully privatized transition that communicates from all of these different private servers and private emails.
Yeah.
There's another standard that is applied to Trump and his minions than is applied to the Democrats and those who are in traditional politics.
And people accept it. And like I always say, the book that is written about this era is not necessarily going to be about Trump himself or Musk or Bannon or the cult of personality. It's going to be what it is in this country that allowed this person to get away with as much as he has gotten away with, and why a double standard, especially for somebody like this, came into play, and why so many people fell into his spell. That to me, it's a psychological book, not a political history book, that's going to be most interesting to me about this era of American politics.
It's funny, we're going to have a psychologist and a noted high-profile psychologist talking about the politics of the moment, because I think that there are two things happening, just to pick up on what you just said. One is the psychology of the American people, right? Because this moment in time was the perfect landing pad for Donald Trump's style. I don't know that his style would have worked effectively in the 80s or even in the early 90s, Michael? But he is.
No, I don't. I mean, and you've seen people, you've seen the people who have been kind of different elected around, Silvio Berlusconi in Italy might have been the first one who seem to get away with everything. But we always thought that, well, Italy, it's, they've had 63 post-war governments, and it isn't the same type of a democracy. And somebody like Berlusconi, who is, has been well known in Italy forever. It's a smaller country with fewer minorities and et cetera. It was easy for him to get to that place. And then Boris Johnson in the UK, that was sort of an anomalous thing in the age of Trump. But Trump being reelected makes it to the point where there's an examination that has to be done as to why we would do this again. When yes, it wouldn't have happened in the 80s, we've held fast to a way that politics has happened in a process, and he has walked all over that process. And also, we took truth a little more seriously than we do now, and we respected and had newspapers then. Maybe it's the fall of the newspaper. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud here. It's the fact that he was able to create what he called the notion that everything is fake news. And we had for so many years, coming out of Watergate especially, where the news and reporting really dug its heels in and changed the country. You would have thought that, okay, that wasn't going to go away. And he's done irreparable harm to that.
Well, I think that is so smart of you to point out the fake news thing, because I think it speaks to the undermining of media and information that he's really effectively pursued. And he has an immense propaganda machine in the Fox News. That's the immense one, but you also have smaller ones in the radio networks across the country, which are generally in talk radio right wing. And also you have news, what's the other one? Newsmax, or
One American News, Newsmax. You have something called Right Side Broadcasting Network. I always tell the story. I've been to Trump rallies reporting, and only OAN and Right Side Broadcasting Network even get the Wi-Fi signal. Nobody else can get it. So you're shutting out all this news, and the people that are at that rally, the only people broadcasting that rally or able to report live from that rally are his people. And his people that you spoke to earlier in the day, the rank and file, that's where they're getting their news. They say One American News, Right Side Broadcasting Network. I mean, it's a well orchestrated machine, and it works well because he's won 2 out of the last 3 presidential American.
Boy, you are right about that. I mean, it's a remarkably powerful thing. Angel in the Bay Area says, with a $10 super chat, Michael was number 1 as host. Stuff happened on time and other wacky things. Sequel. All kidding aside, the Mark Thompson show is, and these are all, it's informed by emojis. So I need an emoji translator to look at this.
Right.
But thanks, Kim.
I'll give you my mom's number. So
yeah, there you go. But you are loved, Michael Shure.
All right. Well, I mean, like I said, I loved doing it, and I loved your audience, and we brought in some good guests last week and had some nice conversations, and I like keeping your seat warm. I'd rather have been on the cruise though, but I had a good time.
It was fun with Kim and Michael, says Audrey. Bring Shure back, says Gordon.
Wow.
So it's a lot of love. That's a really sweet thing. Michael, we wish you all the best for the holidays.
Happy Chanukah. I have no idea what Chanukah is.
Yeah, okay, but whatever you're celebrating, however you're celebrating, we wish you the best. We are dark next Friday. So
but I'm going to be there tomorrow. I'm still coming tomorrow. So
tomorrow you'll be at the meetup. That's right. I love it.
I do need. I'll this is housekeeping stuff, and I'll need a link. So
yeah, we need to send you a link. So Kim will crack the whip over me to make sure that we get you a link. But
all right. Do we get 47 seconds of sport?
Oh yeah,
that was something we established last week.
I actually love that. I heard that 47 seconds of sports. Kamish, do you have anything that you can share with Michael Shure? I think Albert might have had to step away for a second. I don't know. Did you? Is that right, Kim?
Really
and Kim had to step away. So everybody stepped away except for me and Michael.
All right, so we'll do sports next week. Go Niners.
I didn't step away.
All right, well then come in and tell me where Albert is.
I don't know. You're asking too much.
All right.
I have a sports story. Did you see Brock Purdy bought his offensive line Toyotas?
Yeah, that's the kind of offensive line he has. Hopefully next year they'll get some Porsche-worthy.
Yeah, well, it's funny.
blockers.
Exactly. That's what the commish said. Albert said, "Yeah, I don't know that I would have bought him anything. They're not exactly protecting him."
No,
well.
but I love hearing those stories when the quarterback buy it, because that must mean that Brock Purdy knows he's getting a big payday very soon. So
yeah. He definitely has a bigger payday than the one that he had the last time. He's still working under a rookie deal.
Although he did something to make it smaller than the size it was going to be. But anyway, we'll see.
All right. We're big fans. Whatever. Michael Shure, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Michael. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.